Hi there, I'm Shannon Cannings, and Michelle Taff asked us to make a video telling you a little bit about us and our practice. So what we've decided to do is make a three-part video, one where we both talk, and then we'll reconvene in my studio and he'll ask me questions, and then we'll go to his studio and I'll ask him questions. So this is the part one. So I am Shannon Cannings, and I am an oil painter. I sometimes work in colored pencil drawings and sometimes silkscreen now. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I got my undergraduate degree in painting. I got a BFA from Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia, and my MFA in painting as well from Syracuse University.
And I'm William Cannings. I primarily at this point work with steel that I inflate and use automotive paints to make them look glossy and shiny. I'm originally from Nantwich, England, which is in the northwest part of the country. I somehow got my Bachelor of Fine Arts from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, and then my Master's of Fine Arts, both in sculpture, from Syracuse University, which is where Shannon and I met.
True. Well, not that we'd lie, but no. That's the truth. So one of the questions Michelle asked us about was about being in an art household, which this very truly is. We both teach, we both have active studios, and we are raising 2 children, a crazy dog, and now 3 kittens. So it's pandemonium around here all the time. But I think that this system works well for us because we're both in this. I think if one of us had like an accounting job or medicine or something like that, it would be really stressful in a way that we wouldn't be able to handle. We both understand the crazy that we're in, and so I think we can be supportive of one another. The main issue is that you have to make sure that your crazy doesn't overlap. So we have to make sure that we have things going on at separate times so that the other person can be supportive in that time.
Yes, we're culturally very rich, but financially not so well off.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I would prefer that way than the other.
Me too. But we certainly support each other through the thick and thin, and it's been a privilege now to do this for the past 20 years. We both, I should mention, teach at Texas Tech University in the School of Art, which is part of the Torkington College of Visual and Performing Arts. So.
We were asked about teaching practice specifically and how that informs the studio or vice versa. And I think that for me, the drawings that I make in the studio happen exactly the same way that they do in the classroom. So I feel like I am practicing what I preach to my students. I start the drawing and end it very similarly, and teach them that that's the best way to make a drawing. And so I think that they can see the connection between the marks that we're making in class and an end product of whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I mean, I teach from 3D foundations all the way up to graduate sculpture courses, but I guess the class I love to teach the most is my introductory sculpture class for welding and metal fabrication, just because it's what I use within my own arts practice and the way I seem to think a lot. And I also work at school, as you'll see shortly. And so it's nice for the students to see how their faculty work and solve problems as much as it is for me to see how they problem solve too in a little more depth.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about galleries. There are different kinds of art venues for different purposes. So you can show at museums and in art centers and nonprofits. You can also show in commercial galleries. We do a little bit of all of those, and certainly in university galleries as well. What you have to understand is where the money comes from for these different places. So museums and art centers, a lot of their funding is through grants and donations and that sort of thing. So none of it really is dependent on the art sales. If art sales happen, they're happy with that, but it's not part of their major income. So when you get into shows in those places, if they are going to sell your work, they take a very low percentage, but their primary job is not to sell it. So you usually, if you can sell work in those, then you make a larger profit from it, but you usually don't sell a lot of work that way. We sell a lot of work through our commercial galleries, but they are private businesses, and that is their income, is the art sales. And so they work very hard for that, and they have a lot of overhead to keep the lights on, and so they take 50% of a sale usually. That's pretty standard. I think now standard in New York is a higher percentage than the artist gets, and in some cases in smaller towns they might try to promote the artists more by giving the artists more of a percentage. But essentially you can assume that that about half of the face value of the artwork is going to go to the gallery, and they earn every cent for what they do for you. So
yeah, if you make good art, you can make a good living.
So we're coming to you from our backyard here first because I wanted to show you what's behind me. This is my pencil fence. Right before spring break and the world shut down, we had a new fence installed, and I started to paint it. And then very quickly the world stopped and there was nothing else to do for quite a while. So I painted the whole fence. And so you can see behind me that it goes on and on. There are 170, let me get this back in the right place. There are 170 slats, and they're all different colors from one another. And they're all to look like a giant colored pencil set. So,
do you want to mention the galleries we are in?
Oh yes, we should mention our galleries. That would be a great idea. They would love that. Will and I are both in Anya Tisch Gallery in Houston, and we are both in Chris Worley Fine Arts in Dallas, and then I also am in Charles Adams Gallery here in Lubbock.
And then I am in Pan American Art Projects in Miami, Florida.
All right. Did we cover everything? I think we did.
There's lots we've probably This is a very strange venue.
That's part one. So we're going to reconvene in my studio next. So please hold. Hi there. Welcome to my studio. My studio is right behind my house. So I have I think this is a one-car garage, essentially. Behind this wall is Will's bike shed currently, and soon when we build him a new bike shed, I get to blow up the wall and my studio will be twice as big, and I am super excited about that because this is all I get right now. So the way we're going to do this, Will is going to ask me some questions now, and I will try to answer them for you.
Okay. Questions. Why do you make what you make?
Okay, so I paint guns. I paint toy guns. I've never painted a real gun. They're always toys. It wasn't always this way. I originally was painting plastic toys, ephemera, things that you would buy at Kmart and blow up and play with in your backyard. It was nostalgic and reminded me of summer and being a kid, and I loved that sort of feeling. And one day when I was buying materials for some new paintings, because I had a season, I had to go and buy all of my pool floats and beach balls and all that kind of thing all at once. And I came across some squirt guns, and they brought up a whole bunch of questions for me. I wanted to know why they made me uncomfortable, what it was from my childhood that something was reminding me that this is a bad thing, but it's also fun. And I had sort of all these opinions about them at the same time. So I bought the squirt guns. I did not tell my mother I bought squirt guns because we were never allowed to own them as children. All of my squirt guns were shaped like fish. And so I started what I thought was going to be a couple of paintings. And that was 15 years ago or so. My questions persisted. I have continued to be concerned with the imagery of guns and how they affect us in society, how they affect children. And so the questions keep coming. Two of the things that really I think about a lot are when you first give a kid a squirt gun. It's hot, they're playing, it's fun, they chase their friends around with it, and the first thing that happens is your friends figure out how far you can shoot before the arc hits the ground, and so they just stay outside of that range, and eventually you get hot and sweaty, and so instead of trying to shoot your friend in the face, you put it in your own mouth and you suck out the water. And when you are dealing with real guns, the two things you're never supposed to do are point it at somebody else's face or put it in your own. And so that has sort of become this question to me: why do we give these children things that gives them behavior that's bad later in life?
All right, thank you. What's your connection to the subject matter? I guess you've answered some of that.
I did.
So, what is the importance of craftsmanship in your work?
So Will and I are both going to answer this question. You'll get that one later.
Yeah.
Craftsmanship, for me, is very important because I feel like, for me, it's the grammar of painting, the grammar of drawing. And I feel like what you're trying to say with it feels like the poetry or the writing. And so I feel like before you can write poetry, you ought to know the sort of bones behind it. You should know some of the grammar of painting and drawing. And I feel like, for me, this isn't true for everyone, but I feel in my work it's important that my skill is on display so that it is the vehicle through which the person can read the pieces. I think if I was more abstract or sloppier about it, or if my canvas was falling off of the stretchers, then it becomes about that. It becomes about the destruction of the frame, or about the materials falling apart. And I think that that's not in the message that I am trying to convey. And so I feel like I need to block all of those things out in order to have my message show up most cleanly.
Thank you. All right, and a little bit of a shift, but can you talk about the importance of scale in juried exhibition submissions? Because most of these students will probably end up participating in that practice.
Yes. So juried exhibitions are a great way to start, especially when you first get out of school. You don't have a massive portfolio of work that's really cohesive. So in order to get your name out there, in order to be able to to sort of pad your resume, you want to enter juried exhibitions. Juried exhibitions are where you give usually about 3 images and now it's all submitted online, to a juried exhibition where a juror will choose the pieces that are in the show. They usually cost 30 to 50, somewhere like that, for those 3 images to enter, and then all of that money is pooled and they have prizes. So they'll have first, second, and third prize usually, which are associated with a check at the end of it. So the thing is, in order to get into Jerried exhibitions, sometimes you have to apply to a lot of them, and they can be expensive. It's also expensive, say, congratulations, you got in. Now you have to send the work to the show. So I have a couple of different scales of work that I use. I have very large work. 6-foot paintings, and sometimes a little smaller, sometimes 50, 60 inches tall or wide. But, to send a painting that's 5 feet wide across the country is very expensive. So I always have smaller works, 2-footers, that I can, in fact, the 2-foot squares, I know exactly what box at U-Haul I need to buy for it, and I know exactly how much it costs to send it. And so I have a tendency to enter Jerried exhibitions with the smaller pieces because I know that it's less expensive for me to send them across the country. When I'm going to have a solo show, then I can make bigger works and I can rent a U-Haul and drive the pieces there all together, so that I don't have to build a really, really big crate and that which then costs thousands of dollars to mail. So, did I get it all right? Did I win?
I think you've won the chicken dinner.
Yay! Okay, pause.
Hi, welcome to where I work. This is the 3D Art Annex at Texas Tech University. This is a state-of-the-art 3D facility for the arts. We have ceramics, jewelry metals, and sculpture here. And this is where I work. This is my humble little table where I try and make things happen. And Shannon is going to ask me some questions now.
Okay. So, your first question is very similar to mine. So, why do you make what you make, and what is your connection to these processes?
Why do I make what I make? I mean, that's a heavy question. I don't know why I make what I make. I know it's in reaction to how I grew up in a wood shop with my father and apprenticing under him as a cabinet maker. And on the construction sites, this material speaks to me in a way that drawing spoke to me as a young art student in art school way back in 1986. There's an immediacy to it, there's a plasticity to it that I've just connected to over the years. I got hired to teach sculpture at Tech in 2000, and one of the responsibilities was to teach welding and metal fabrication. That was an important part of the program. And it made me think about a lot of things, and made me think about the discovery that I like within artistic processes. And that's when I came across the idea of inflating material. It was a very serendipitous moment because of being at graduate school at Syracuse University with a fellow grad that did make latex inflatable work, and I enjoyed that tactility and the fun and the pop quality of it, but I didn't enjoy the amount of labor that was put into it when it could be taken away so quickly. Seeing pieces vandalized, and they were very, what's the word, short-lived. And having the relationship I had with my father and his craft and vocation, I really enjoy sinking my time into things that are going to last a long time. And so the idea came across, well, I wonder if I could inflate steel like a balloon is inflated, giving the idea that this material becomes so plastic under heat. And so 20 years later, I've invested a lot of time and inquisition and labor into where I am right now. So I'm not sure if that answers the whole question, but that's my relationship. My relationship with my work is process-based. I'm a process artist. My brain does not work unless I am working physically. I can't sit there and think about things. I need to actively work and work out my process and my creative, I don't want to call them problems, but my creative concerns or my creative goals and coming across solutions. My brain works very well when I'm out here doing stuff, so that's the answer I'm going to give you for that.
Okay, well that feeds nicely into the second one, which is, what is the importance of craftsmanship in your work?
Boy. Well, to me it's very important. I take great pride in what I make, and it's taken many years in developing and growing that pride. You know, as a young adult and a teenager in art school, I was very impatient and wanted things to be immediate and fulfilled. But I think as I've grown older and through teaching more and through these processes, just slowing down and being patient and, you know, taking care in not just the way things are made or the end quality they look, their aesthetics. I mean, aesthetics are subjective to everybody, and to me, I enjoy things that are well tailored and well fit towards their idea, whether that is an end result that might look sloppy or thrown together or very tight and perceived as contrived a little bit. I think it's all relevant to the idea and what you're doing, and so, you know, craft is important. Whether it's loose or tight, I think it's whether that craft relates to the idea and what you're trying to do. And there are times in my discoveries where I am very slow and methodical, and other times where I really just do throw things together to see how it might grow and evolve.
Excellent.
So, there's your answer to that one.
Last one. It's a two-part. Can you talk about your large-scale commissions? How did you get into doing them?
Yeah, well, as my process has grown and my brain has grown along with it, and my experience and the great privilege of being collected, and I'm in collections all over the world somehow. My art is better traveled than I am. I seem to have grown to public art tremendously. I like the accessibility of public art. We have a phenomenal public art collection here at Texas Tech University, and I don't know if that's directly influenced me, but I was on that committee for 10 years closely. So I've seen the process of how public art is chosen and awarded. But I really do enjoy the accessibility. It seems to take art off of its pedestal and put it in the commonplace, which for me, coming from England and traveling Europe, seems to, I don't know, I'm connected to it. And so the large-scale works that I've been privileged to take part in so far in my artistic life have taken me from, most recently, the Hall Arts Plaza and the Texas Sculpture Walk, to Caterpillar and their collection of Texas artists in San Antonio, to private collections, you know, throughout Houston and throughout Texas. But they've come to me through my galleries ultimately. Whether that is an individual client coming to the gallery because they know my work and would like me to put a proposal together, or whether that's a curator or an art collector or art dealer that knows my work. That's my way of coming into this arena of public art. And there are many ways that can happen, you know. But this is how it's evolving for me, and I don't know when it's going to end or when it's going to stop, but I am fully engaged in it and really, really love it. I find it very rewarding. I like the fact that people dislike my work as much as I like the fact that people like my work. I find public art to be a great place of conversation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh, are we done?
Yeah.
Here. So, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on a Zoom and answering any questions you might have.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.